Any comments on the DOJ being used to get Eric Adams' charges dismissed seems bad. I mean, isn't this like the current administration is like ideologically pro-corruption? Like, if you are corrupt, that might be more important to the current administration than any of your other political allegiances, because corrupt people will always sell others out to save their skin. It's probably being done in his case because that way Eric Adams will allow ICE to do whatever they want in New York City, right? What'd he do to get saved? DOJ ordered feds to drop the case against him. I love my my anti-corruption. Yeah, now he owes Trump a favor, basically. You see the exact same thing with Menendez, who has also been kissing ass to Trump. Yeah, we covered that yesterday, Rave Dubin. Trump pardoned Rod Blagojevich. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Who is also openly corrupt. He tried to sell Barack Obama's vacant Senate seat after being elected president. Yes, I recall the story back then. He literally, like, it is just corrupt people, corrupt politicians. They don't actually have political beliefs. They will do or say anything to save their own skin. That's like overwhelmingly this is the case. And because the right is the one that has the power to reward favors right now, Donald Trump recognizes, hey, we can just like upturn all of these corrupt, like everyone, and we can just use them as we see fit, which is, you know, good politics. Should be a reminder to Democrats, particularly with regard to Eric Adams, that it's actually not acceptable to just go with like the lazy, mediocre choice, just if he's like nominally Democrat, you know, because he can easily be turned against you. The DOJ ordered federal prosecutors to dismiss the corruption charges against him, thanking the agency for a move he says will end a months-long saga that put me, my family, and this city through an unnecessary ordeal. Fantastic stuff. My guess is that the Trump campaign was in contact with Eric Adams before Donald Trump even won the presidency, because Eric Adams started kissing Trump's ass like a while ago. And my guess is that Trump was like, hey, listen, if we win, you know, you and I, we're buddies, as long as you toe the line with the immigration stuff. Bove said in a two-page memo the case distracted Adams from focusing on immigration, crime, and his re-election campaign. Of course, of course. Bove also wrote that the move did not concern the merits of the case and criticized former President Joe Biden and U.S. Attorney Damian Williams, a Biden appointee who brought the charges against Adam last year. Great stuff. Eric Adams defended Trump's Madison Square Garden Nazi rally back in October. They were definitely in communication beforehand. I'd like to blame Americans, or I should say New Yorkers, for this a little bit, because I'm still mad at you guys for your low voter turnout for your mayorship. You know the mayor of New York City is a position more powerful than many governors, right? And then for some reason, so few New Yorkers turned out. Like, the reason Eric Adams won is because, like, what percentage of the vote did he actually get in that like multi-way race? Wasn't it like 30% or something? If you want some blackpilling news, look at the current 2025 New York City mayoral polls. I haven't looked. Do I need more blackpilling news? Is it really necessary for me to have favorability? Let's see. 618 registered voters in New York City, favorable or unfavorable opinion on the following politicians and public figures. For Donald Trump, it's 73% somewhat or strongly unfavorable. For Eric Adams, you have 69% strongly and somewhat unfavorable. Andrew Cuomo, Kathy Hochul, Chris Christie, great stuff. I don't think this isn't mayoral polling, though. This is just opinion polling for a variety of figures. Andrew Cuomo led by a big margin, but he's not running. Wait, is he running? He's teasing a run? Well, Cuomo is objectively better than Eric Adams, right? I'm not saying Cuomo's good at all. I'm just saying that he's obviously better than Eric Adams. Yeah, but the bar is sub-sea level. Have New Yorkers considered, like, I don't know, doing a good job with voting? Just, like, in one of the, like, a very progressive blue, you know, fortress city, would it perhaps, like, behoove them to maybe do a little better with this sort of thing? No? Literally vote harder? Yeah, but, like, literally, though. Like, I am saying that. Yeah, vote harder, please. New Yorkers still haven't discovered trash cans. Cut them a break. That's true. That's true. Why does the New York City mayor get so much more attention than the LA mayor? Because Los Angeles has issues with its incorporation. It's like LA County is the actual thing you think of when you think of LA, the city. It's actually broken up into like 50 different cities that has like a absolute mess of coordination between all the different city councils. Whereas my understanding is that New York City is much more coordinated.
And we have breaking news right now. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is speaking for the first time since the Department of Justice told federal prosecutors to drop the criminal case against him. Let's listen.
It really is crazy how much you lose as a political party by rejecting populism in all its forms. Like, do not forget the reason why the New York City mayoral situation is as fucked as it is because New York City is the absolute worst place for Democrats when it comes to the blight of like Hillary Clinton consultancy. All those freak consultants who don't interact with ordinary people, who have the same economic interests as Republicans, who are only nominally progressive but don't really like understand what it's about basically, and who think that like Bernie Sanders is a freak outsider who would have upturned everything. They're all New Yorkers. Like, not all of them, but a lot of them. It's where Wall Street is. So the reason why you see a lot of this bleed into New York City mayoral races is because the Democrats are very interested in making sure that New York City remains tightly democratically controlled, but only like, within the narrow range of acceptable democratic behavior. Nothing crazy, okay?
As you may have heard, the Department of Justice has directed that the case against me be dismissed.
Yay.
Finally ending a months-long saga that put me, my family, and this city through an unnecessary ordeal. As I said from the outset, I never broke the law.
Aren't New York City consultants the same ones who neglected Hispanic and Asian voters to pander only to white and black people? They're particularly bad with Hispanic voters, yeah, because there aren't that many Hispanic people in New York City relative to the makeup of the city. It's something they're notoriously bad for. It's the reason why a lot of younger Democrats are much better about outreach to Hispanic people, because there are a lot of Hispanic people in the country, and depending on where in the country you're from, you might be around more Hispanic people than white people. But in New York City, it's an older city, and a lot of these dynamics are a lot more... I should say, it's not that there aren't Hispanic people in New York City, it's that the racial politics of New York City have calcified in different ways than what you see in Houston, Austin, Albuquerque, Los Angeles, San Diego. And as a consequence of that, yeah, a lot of the like stiff upper crust, consultant types in New York City, they don't really get it. That's why you had Hillary Clinton saying shit like, I'm your abuela. I keep hot sauce with me at all times. I'm just like your abuela, It's like it's a cultural distance that shows when you see people from that side of things. And it's one of the reasons why Democrats keep acting like all they need to do to appeal to Hispanic voters is not be as anti-immigrant as Republicans, but still be anti-immigrant, Like, Democrats spend so much time and energy trying to shore up an already very strong black supporter base. Black people already vote massively towards Democrats. But for Hispanic people, they're like, yeah, there's like a ton of Hispanic people in the country and they're rapidly shifting right. But, like, whatever, man. I'm sure we'll pick them up by not being as openly racist towards them as Donald Trump. 1 second. 1 second. We have to give our beloved new cat some eye medicine. 1 second. She's totally good. We got to do it because it's on the time.
And I never would. I would never put any personal benefit above my solemn responsibility as your mayor. It is worth repeating the facts because many sensational and false claims have been made.
Yep.
So let me be clear.
Yep.
I never ask anyone to break the law on my behalf or on behalf of my campaign. Never. And I absolutely never traded my power as an elected official for any personal benefit.
More likely Puerto Ricans if we're talking New York. Yeah, but go to a Puerto Rican and talk to them and say like, hey, you're part of the Hispanic voting bloc, right? And see how that goes. It's complicated, okay?
No witness ever came forward publicly to make claims against me. None of the baseless threats from prosecutors of new charges and new evidence ever materialized. And this case will no longer continue. Psalms 34:1 says,
the Hispanic population in New York is also a lot of Dominicans. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point, yeah. Who naturally vote more blue than a lot of Hispanic groups. I don't want to say naturally, it's not a skull-shaped thing, but yeah, no, I get you. Yeah, it's literally just you can look like a percent, Hispanic population in a county map of the United States, and you can see like where a lot of the influence comes from, you know? I know it's crazy, but a lot of the direction that you get from a country comes from where some of its most prominent party members are located, right? Like, Republicans get a lot of their power and a lot of their governance from Florida and Texas. And you can see it in part in their rising, percent of Hispanic support with each successive election. And you can see that for a big chunk of the United States down here, and you've got the Cubans down here in Florida, just a lot of representation, but much in the same way. Like if you could imagine, like all of Republican governance coming from Montana or something, there's an influence. Eastern Washington. Actually, yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that. Why are there so many Hispanic people in these two chunks of Washington? Well, I don't know the particulars everywhere. What's that one orange bit? They must be really, really racist. Apple orchards? Might be, yeah. By the way, the DNC isn't in New York anymore. Well, physically the DNC isn't, but as long as like the New York consultancy class runs the DNC, as long as it's like Clinton's and such. It's like Obama's a Chicagoite in his own fashion, but they don't anymore, but they do. They do, though. Well, I guess a lot of the criticisms that you could make of the Democratic establishment from New York would apply to what they get from Chicago as well, vis-a-vis Obama. But Obama doesn't seem to have had the same, legacy impact as the Clintons. I mean, the Clintons were like a dynasty. The new DNC chairs from Minnesota. Yeah, but that happened 5 days ago. I'm talking about, momentum of the party. Either way, let's just finish watching this corrupt piece of shit.
I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth.
What?
So I thank the Justice Department
Religious
for
people
its
are so
honesty.
gay.
Now we can put this cruel episode behind us and focus entirely on the future of our city. It's time to move forward.
He was in the middle of quoting the Bible. Yeah, that shit gay.
That I am no longer facing legal questions. I also understand that many New Yorkers will still question my character. And I know that I must continue to regain your trust. I've learned a lot over the last year, and this experience has been humbling. But as we have been dragged through this unfortunate prosecution, I never took my eyes off what was important, you and your family's future. And because of that, our city government has never been stronger. Just look at the figures. We have achieved record drops in crime, record increases in affordable housing, and the highest number of jobs in New York City history. And I want to repeat that. Double-digit drops in shootings, homicides, and subway crimes. The most new housing built in a 3-year period ever, and the most jobs ever. We move more than 185,000 migrants through our system and out of our care. We help put $30 billion back into the pockets of New Yorkers through direct assistance. And we enrolled more children than ever into early childhood education programs.
Yeah, he's comparing these numbers to COVID numbers. That's why he's saying, of the past 3 years. The only big jump that I've seen recently that isn't just being reflected in the rest of the country is apparently MTA crimes have gone down after they implemented the congestion pricing because more people are using the MTA now, which makes it harder to do crimes there. There's been a lower proportion of people skipping tolls or whatever. And I'm so in favor of the congestion pricing. The fact that I'm honestly surprised that Eric Adams didn't shut that down because he's evil. I'm surprised he didn't shut that down. So I'm glad. I'm happy for that. Anyway, again, in case you're wondering why the DOJ is willing to do this, Mayor Adams to top commissioners: don't criticize Trump, don't interfere with immigration enforcement. This is a simple quid pro quo. They probably communicated about this before the election even took place, as soon as the corruption investigation took place. Eric Adams was told basically hey, listen, we'll see how things go, but we'll bust you out of this. When we control the DOJ, we'll just flat out, you'll just get away scot-free, but you need to be, a pawn of the regime. And there you go. Simple as. The US government's currently being run by a mafia, lol. The only difference between the Trump administration and the mafia is that the mafia had family values. They were also ordered to not be critical of the president or federal government on social media. Could there be a more like overt quid pro quo to this? Like it's not even just political gain or whatever. It's not even just like, oh yeah, allow ICE to do. It's like, no, you need to fully bend the knee. Trump's already threatened to pull federal funding for so-called sanctuary cities. You are New York City. You have the money to survive that. Clear up ICE protocol. Have Democrats said anything about this? Do they still support him? That's the most embarrassing thing. Democrats barely opened their mouth about Eric Adams because they were, hello, Capella, because like Democrats didn't want, again, Democrats can't call out people like Eric Adams without drawing more attention to the fact that they stifled the opposition to Eric Adams time and time again. Like constantly, the Democrats run into this like really awkward, rock and hard place dynamic where they like very obviously are willing to put up with people who are incompetent, corrupt, unpopular, or otherwise ineffective, as long as they're not populist, leftist, progressive, whatever else. But when things come to a head and like it turns out, wow, Eric Adams is super bad and super corrupt, now they can't say anything. Also, because Democrats are massive pussies, as somebody just said, Left Frog, they don't really talk about lower races that often. I think this is just because Democrats are allergic to power. I don't know why. Notice how Donald Trump will talk about anyone. Like, Donald Trump will name individual county clerks if it's in any way beneficial to him. Like, if it aids him in any way, like, he will call out anyone, any level. Democrats literally like just shut the fuck up and mind their own business, or not even mind their own business. This is their business. They're not even minding their business. They mind nothing, including their own business. A memo from the DOJ orders prosecutors to stop investigating Adams any further. Kathy Hochul could have removed Eric Adams as mayor when the charges were brought, so the DOJ wouldn't have the pretense of Adams being an election candidate. Well, of course, Kathy Hochul wouldn't do that, would she? That would be uncivil.
By reducing the cost of childcare to less than 1/10 of what it was when we came into office for working families.
He did not actually manage to reduce the cost of childcare to 1/10 of what it was before. Did I mishear that? That's a ridiculous thing to say.
Education programs by reducing the cost of childcare to less than 1/10.
Yeah, to less than 1/10. Like, no. But I'm not, whatever.
What it was when we came into office for working families. We put thousands of new police officers on our streets and
oh,
in
great.
our
I believe that.
And we connected thousands struggling with mental illness to services. That's right. Hidden beneath all the shocking headlines, full of rumors and accusations, all the innuendos and insinuations.
We are watching New York City Mayor Eric Adams speaking for the first time since the Justice Department told prosecutors to drop the criminal case against him. Adams says he never asked anyone to break the law on his behalf, never traded his power as a public official for personal benefit, and never broke the law himself. I want to bring back senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky for more. Aaron, it's interesting because prosecutors aren't dropping this case because they don't think the evidence is strong enough, right? They're saying that wasn't really a factor here. It was something else. So explain what that something else is and how it's related to Trump's immigration crackdown.
Politics is the only thing that you can say, because the Justice Department made clear in a memo from the acting #2 official at the Justice Department, Emil Bovee, to prosecutors here in New York, that they were not evaluating the strength of the evidence or even the legal theories underpinning the criminal prosecution of the mayor. They said instead the case had to be dropped because of the timing. They say it was brought after.
I do like this new, I guess this is now like a consistent doctrine of conservative ideology, which is the belief that like the people least deserving of criminal investigation are people running for office. You would think like conventionally it'd be the other way. Like, actually, the people you would most want to investigate would be the people running for office. But what do I know? I haven't won the presidency twice. Fun stuff. Anyway, I hope New Yorkers enjoy their, I don't fucking know, indefinite rule by a comedically corrupt mayor who is preemptively kowtowed to the Trump administration. We won't, thanks. Vote better next time! Seriously, the last election results were pathetic. In 2021? 2021 Democratic. Just the number of people voting. You assume people have the energy to vote in NYC. You should. You all like walk around a lot, don't you? You'd think you'd have a much higher like base level of energy. In the first round, Eric Adams only got 30.7%. Catherine Garcia Maya Willie, Andrew Yang, Scott Stringer. But like, look at the numbers. The final round vote that determined that Eric Adams would be the Democratic primary winner, 404,000. This effectively was the vote for the mayorship of New York City. Like, what the New York City has a population of 8 million. How many registered voters are there in NYC? Let me see. Voter enrollment totals, New York City Board of Elections. Total registered voters in New York. No, in New York City. Is this going to be harder to find than I initially thought it would? You know what? We can do this easily. Hold on 1 second. 2024 presidential election results, New York City. How many Democrat voters were there? I just want to see New York City. They're not showing me New York City. They're showing me New York State. Why do they have to make it hard for me? New York City is in this page 9. Page 9? Feel like this shouldn't be that difficult. New York State voter enrollment by county, party affiliation, and status. Within New York City. No, because this is, okay, outside New York City grand total, within New York City total. Active, inactive, 3.3 million active registered Democratic voters. Do I have that correct? 3.3 million active registered Democratic voters. And the mayoral turnout, less than a quarter of that for the Democratic primary. Jesus Christ. That's just the Democrats, because this is the Democratic primary. Like, damn, man. And even then, he barely won. I know that, like, electoral apathy is a systemic goal of the powers that be in this country, but sometimes it really is difficult to not fall into, like, the people deserve it kind of attitude, you know? It's one thing with the presidency. At least turnout was something. But, like, less than a quarter of registered Democrats didn't vote in the Democratic primary for the mayorship? What are you talking about? Absolutely wild. We need to develop a culture of active participation in society. Yeah, and maybe, like, I guess a potential hope is that when things get much worse very quickly, as they currently are under Trump, I guess a hope is that it encourages people to be a little bit more civically active, not even just with voting, but just generally, like, wow, it turns out you actually have to care. Like, energy is what wins or loses politics, and as long as we, the good people, have less energy than the, like, you know, dickless little virgin brown shirt the 18-year-olds who think that, like, Jews made pornography to keep him specifically from getting a trad wife, like, as long as those people have more energy, they will win. These past 4 years have really made me pessimistic about voters just being liars. Even with ranked choice voting, people still didn't vote. Yeah, like how everyone's dissatisfied with Congress, but nobody actually votes out their congressman. Exactly. Yeah, I think it is true that we have literally seen, like, ranked choice voting not influence elections that much. And it's like, damn, it looks like the issue is more of a cultural one, you know? Like, things are bad in a lot of other countries around the world, but at least there are, like, real shifts and changes in the, like, political landscape, you know? Like, people have multiple options, and it seems possible for outcomes to be affected based on, like, ups by members of given parties. It's just like, in comparison here in America, like, apathy wins every time. We're so apathetic. Well, shitting all over the Dems constantly doesn't seem to be making people more likely to vote either. Zigabiz, you're on your third strike, buddy. Your inept, dickless liberal whining is not welcome here. I don't know. You've been here for so long. I don't know why you're doing this now. Is this like a depressive thing? Do you have a brain tumor? You weren't always like this. You're a prominent enough chatter that I remember. Why now? They've always been kind of a lib. Yeah, but it's been ramping up lately. Look, this isn't a call out. I mean, I guess it's definitionally a call out. This isn't, you know, it's not that serious. I'm just saying, like, you know, we have to be optimistic. We have to try. Shitting on Dems is morally necessary. The Democrats are one of the main reasons we're in this position, you know? If people aren't voting because they think their votes don't make a difference, Democrats prove them right. Look at Democrats. Democrats are an affirmation of the belief that apathetic people have that their votes don't make a difference because Democrats don't do anything. Widespread anger towards the Democrats might open up an avenue, might give somebody the impetus, you know, the belief that they could carve a name for themselves by being aggressive, you know, challenge the Democratic establishment, you know? Do what Bernie Sanders couldn't do. It wasn't possible in 2016 or 2020, but now, with the Democrats being this inept, you know, I do maintain that Bernie Sanders was smart to not be openly oppositional to the Democrats back in 2016 and 2020. I maintain it was smart of him to endorse Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, because at those times, the Democrats still had a somewhat legitimate stake to the argument that they were a force against the Republicans. Now they do not. Not only have they lost humiliatingly, losing all three branches of government in their own way, both halves of the bicameral legislature, but in addition, like, they are utterly toothless, completely toothless in their opposition. Literally, like, Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer are the only ones we have right now that are actually, like, in positions of party leadership. Joe Biden, he's gone, dude. Kamala Harris, she's gone, dude. They're all gone. Good night, y'all. They're out. They don't give a shit. Goodbye. They're like, oh, we tried nothing and it didn't work. Goodbye. They dipped. So we're stuck with two anti-charismatic losers who will do nothing. Like, the Democrats are not in a state right now where the voters are even remotely charitable to them, you know? So maybe now people get, antagonistic towards the Democrats and they actually get away with it, you know? Wouldn't that be nice? Or we lose to the GOP, which did happen. Yeah, but it already happened, Sigabiz. Like, what? You think that Schumer and Jeffries are going to win us the game in 2026 or 2028? No. It's clear that sucking up to the Democrats no longer holds any value, not politically, not optically, rhetorically, whatever else. It's a dead party that offers nothing. Dead party run by dead men. Maybe something can grow from the corpse. It has happened. I have managed to tune out Vosh ranting about Democrats in similar fashion to when he rants about Israel. What happens when I look at YouTube chat, man? It's crazy out there. Dude, if you want to lose forever and, like, die in a ditch along with the rest of us, then, like, keep going the way you're going, man. I don't know what the Democrats have to do to lose your faith. What more could they lose? They lost every branch. I don't know. That's crazy, though. Oh, I can actually look at people's chat history in YouTube chat as well. 3 messages from the past year. You joined YouTube 17 years ago. You're not a kid. Or if you are a kid, then you must have landed on the join YouTube, create new account button falling out of the womb. I mean, damn. I just want what's better for you, okay? Okay, last thing I'm going to say. Hold on. That's why it seems ill-advised to spend so much of our time shitting on them when they're literally the only other option. Zigabiz, they failed. You're being a doomer right now, okay? You're being the doomer. They failed. They failed. The Democrats failed. They're going to keep failing. They're not an option anymore. They had their chance. They failed. It's done. It's over. They failed. They're going to keep failing. Nothing the Democrats are doing right now. Do you not even believe in the idea of pressuring your elected representatives? You see over the past decade how the Republicans have shifted and molded to adjust their behavior to the expanding demands of their constituency and winning because of it. And then meanwhile with the Democrats, you're like, well, let's not be mean to the Democrats because they're all we have. Steel sharpens steel. You have to put the Democrats in the forge. In order to, like, you're being given mediocre shit. You're like, the chef is serving you a plate of dog shit, and you're like, well, if I criticize the dog shit in the plate, then how will I ever get the crab rangoon that I ordered? You know, they're the one chef. What do? I ordered a beef Wellington, and I admit, like, this isn't a beef Wellington, but what do I do if I point out that it's dog shit? Then they're never going to make me a beef Wellington. How do we do praxis? Like and subscribe. Donate if you have the capital. If you're so interested. Make sure to ring the bell. Thank you. The argument that Dems like losing because they still get paid is always true. It's not necessarily that simple. What's the alternative to the Dems, though? The Dems aren't just a single block. The Dems are made up of hundreds and hundreds of people, elected and unelected officials. By putting pressure on the Democrats, listen, okay? We're doing Marxism right now, okay? We're gonna talk about material conditions, okay? One problem with liberalism and in the current historical moment, okay, is that liberalism doesn't have an answer to an increase in populist tension that is seen when the internal contradictions of this system of capitalism reach a point where people find them intolerable. Maybe they find them intolerable at some point or another. It doesn't really matter. But the intolerability must be addressed in some fashion or another. This happened after the Great Depression. FDR addressed this. The New Deal provided enough wind. The early advent of social democracy provided enough wind to our system to keep people moving forward, to restore faith in the viability of capitalism, of market-based economics, whatever else, whatever you want to say. We are now once more at this juncture. We are at this point, except Republicans have an answer to it. Democrats do not. Republicans' answer to the rising alienation and inequity and perceived unfairness of the system is to double down on the unfairness but misdirect people. They're doing what the Nazis did. FDR addressed the Great Depression and the feelings people had through the Great Depression with not socialism, but social democracy, Keynesian economics, whatever else. The Nazis chose fascism. Both are viable paths out of that moment of discontent. Obviously, one of them built the greatest superpower the world has ever seen. The other one led to every square inch of Germany getting bombed into fuck and being occupied by 4 different countries until eventually being reunited in the 90s. So you decide, socialism or barbarism, which one do you prefer? Okay? Democrats don't have an answer to this discontent in this right now. They have none. They have literally nothing. Okay? Literally, like, you look at the Democratic leadership, okay? Look at Jeffries, look at Schumer. What are they offering people? Nothing. There's not even a hope of a plan. There's nothing. There's no strategy. There's nothing. Like, there's no message, no guiding light, no doctrine, nothing that they're pushing people with, not even a concept of a plan. In this respect, they're falling behind Trump as well. They're offering not Trump, but their not Trump is, guys, look, we're willing to be bipartisan on the deportations, okay? Nothing. So what do we do with this? Well, can the Democrats just magically disconnect themselves from the binds of capital? No. However, things are more complicated than that. Within the Democratic Party, there are many, many people, representatives that are elected, bureaucrats, lobbyists, whatever else, okay? And as fucked as our system is right now, there are still many ways in which it is responsive to the democratic interests of the people. No matter what, power always comes from support of the people. It doesn't matter how much money you have. If you have no one guarding that money, you lose every time. It doesn't matter how much money or power, everything comes down to people power. Always. No matter what. It doesn't matter if you're a king or a bishop. It doesn't matter if you're the Pope or some kind of future space dictator. Always, always, always. People are social animals. Power is over other people. Power is built on the support of other people. Had Hitler had no support from the people, they would have tossed his ass out of government, and that would have been that. He had to lie to build that support. FDR built his support with the public mandate. Power, support from people underneath you, is not politically neutral, but it's a universal element of power building. So what can you do to make the Democrats better? Well, Jeffries is not very popular right now, is he? How many people are out there waving Jeffries flags? You got a Jeffries hat? You see Democrats out there with big Schumer Jeffries flags waving in front of their lawn? No. The people who like Jeffries and Schumer like them because they've been told to like them. In likelihood, they haven't even seen them talk on TV, okay? It's just like a vague knowledge that they're in leadership positions of the Democratic Party. There is no cult of personality. There is no power. They're just there. They occupy a seat. So what happens if some enterprising young man, woman, or non-binary person, whatever, sees widespread discontent towards the Democrats, which exists and is building every single day? Okay, like, seriously, look at the streets right now, okay? People are not happy with Democrats. Democratic voters are not happy with the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party isn't doing shit right now. Everything's getting worse very quickly, and everyone's going, where are the Democrats? Well, that's a great question. Where are the Democrats? Oh, well, we can't do anything. We lost by 1.8%. The overwhelming public mandate has gone to Trump. You. Republicans weren't talking like that back when it mattered. That's why they won in 2016. So people are upset. Maybe some enterprising young individual of whatever gender, I don't care, realizes, wow, public discontent towards the Democrats is so great right now. I bet I could win a Democratic primary while shit-talking the Democrats. After all, Didn't Trump do that in 2016? Trump won the Republican presidential primary going after the GOP. Shit-talked McCain, shit-talked Bush, shit-talked Romney, went after all of his opposition, and people loved it because the GOP, the establishment GOP, wasn't very popular and wasn't offering people very much. Trump offered them something more aggressive, something more loud. And the GOP was willing to acquiesce because they recognized the power that he held. Now, the Democrats have not historically been as willing to acquiesce to populist demands because it contradicts the interests of the capital class that fund the Democrats, much as they fund the Republicans. Republicans don't fear right-wing populism because right-wing populism doesn't really challenge the interests of capital, but public interest, popularity, it's not always capable of necessarily being suppressed by capital interest, right? Look what happened to FDR. The economic elites hated FDR. They also really didn't like Bernie, but Bernie was very legitimately popular. And FDR, of course, won 4 presidential elections. So, popularity matters. And maybe it's possible that some newcomers, or even people who are currently within the party who start nutting up a little bit, start getting loud and aggressive against the Democrats themselves. And that would be a way out of this. Would it immediately fix things? No. We're kind of for a while. But I'm just explaining, like, none of this can happen unless you open, like, you have to open your heart to new possibilities and recognize that the Democrats as they are right now are worse than useless. They're so ineffective that they actually make an argument for Republicans. Okay, so the leaders of the party have to stand for something? Well, yeah, that would be nice. In the way that Trump does. Trump does stand for plenty of things. He's a liar and a fraud and a cheat and a so on, pedophile, Epstein, etc., etc. But he does stand for things.